It's time for another Three Blind Mice Invitational. This time, it's the Hot Wheels 32 Ford panel. The one you see there is where I started. You know I love that color of green, so it was tough to change this one. Wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. I knew it had real riders, so I was keeping those. But I thought about chopping it, and at one point I thought about painting it brown and then having black fenders and putting a mug root beer decal on the sides. But then I was looking around online trying to get ideas, and I saw a solid yellow, for real, 32 Ford panel that was just solid yellow. And for some reason it appealed to me. So that's what I decided to do with this one. So once I had the direction, it was just a matter of taking it apart and getting started. Now, it has a metal body, but the weird part is those fenders and the front grille and stuff, that's all plastic, which I don't know why it surprised me, but it did. The real riders just fell right out of there, so that couldn't be any better. And it has a metal base. So yeah, I drilled it out, tapped it, went through the usual process. That little tap, I got to tell you, I love that tap handle. It just makes it so easy. And then threw screws in it, and I was ready to get going. It did have quite a few casting lines. It had some rough spots, and there were some areas, like right there on the hood, that I could never get perfect. It was just weird to try and work on those little spots. But I got it as good as I could, and I was happy with the results. So it did involve quite a bit of filing, getting rid of the casting lines. And the roof on it was exceptionally rough. That flat area, you can't see it too well in these shots. The camera just didn't catch it. But it wasn't that smooth. So when I hit it with primer, it really brought out the roughness to that area. And naturally I went over it with a Scotch-Brite pad and everything, and still you can't quite see it here. So hitting it with primer, you can tell I had to go over it with the spot putty, and then I wet sanded that all out, and finally got the top as smooth as I wanted it to be, because it was just weird. Polished the heck out of the metal base, and so that cleaned up pretty well. And then it was time for paint. I went with Krylon Gloss Sun Yellow, and then went over that with the Minwax polyurethane clear. So here you see the yellow I ended up with. And then I wanted to put the, I forget what it's called. I'm having a brain fart. You have to excuse me. But the runners there on the side, I wanted those to be flat black. And so I ended up using Army Painter paints for those. And you can see I have it masked off, but the masking tape kind of blends in with the yellow there. But if you look closely, you can tell it's masked off. And I do paint the interior black, add some detail to that interior. Nothing too fancy. Notice it doesn't have a steering wheel. So I tried different names for this. I tried to come up with something, and mellow yellow, the banana, and then I came up with Old Yeller. So printed up decals for the sides that said that. And yes, I am using more decals this year. I'm trying. I'm trying to learn how to do them better. And the only way to learn is by practice. And so you're all going to have to suffer with me through these. And if you fast forward through these sections, I completely understand. I won't make you watch too much of the decal work. I promise that. But I'm getting there. I'm getting the hang of it. I didn't do too many decals on this one either. Then I had those little ferrule things, those little flared out pipes. I wanted to put those on the back. So I ended up squishing the ends of them flat, leaving the flared ends out, squished them flat so I could glue them under that back bumper. I glued them to the base. And because it just needed a good-looking exhaust. I think I stuck them out, though, a little too far, to be honest with you. And you can be the judge of that at the end, but still, I like the look of it. And then there you see the yellow paint that I used because I decided I wanted to paint the hubs the same color as the body. I wanted it to match. And I could see if you owned one of these 32 Ford panels actually doing that. It's just one of those little added details that I think really adds a lot to this type of build. I mean, it's a very simple thing to do, and yet it's something I could see on the full-size version. And I got the white paint out to do the headlights. Again, that's a matte white paint. So obviously that's not going to be perfect. And that little ball tip thing you see me painting that on there with, you've probably seen me use that before. Those are actually for fingernail painting. But they work great for this kind of thing because they're rounded. They make it a little easier. And then to make these shiny after they dried, I went over it with the micro crystal clear. And this stuff has so many uses, it's not even funny. You know, you can make windows out of it. You can cover things to give them a gloss finish. You can use it as a glue to hold the glass in place if it's just not fitting right, or if you need to fill something in. It has a multitude of uses. And yep, it's time for Gauzy. Gauzy, Gauzy, Gauzy. You knew I wasn't going to let you down. Come on, I know those of you out there who are still playing the game that, jeez, it's been a long time since we joked about the drinking game that everybody takes a shot of their favorite beverage when they hear the word Gauzy. So yeah, when I can, if there's glass, it will get gauzied for you. Hopefully you came to this video prepared. So cover that so it doesn't get fuzzy. And then needed to paint in the front. So again, I'm using the Army Painter paints quite a bit on this particular build. And so I just hand paint in that front grille. And you know, it's one of those things where I thinned it out a little bit. That's water you see up there to the top right. And so I thinned it out because it can be a little too clumpy at times when you're trying to do that. And so did that. And then it was on to adding a steering wheel because, well, damn it, this thing needs one. So I just stuck it there on its end, hit it with some silver paint. I did drill a hole into the dash and then glued it in there off camera. And so at this point, I kind of thought I was done. And so we'll get it all put together here and drop the glass in, the usual procedure. But like I said, I thought I was done. I'd like to take a moment here to mention that everyone should check out all of the other builds in the Three Blind Mice Invitational, and there will be a recap on the Three Blind Mice Diecast YouTube channel. So you can work from there also to see all of the other builders and check out their videos. There will also be glamour shots by people who don't have YouTube channels. They are invited to participate in these builds and just send a glamour shot, and it will be added to that recap. I did fumble quite a bit putting this thing together. I'm still surprised that that section there was all plastic, that the fenders were plastic. It painted up well, though. I mean, I was happy about that. I was kind of concerned. Yeah, that was close. Yeah, I don't know why I was fumbling around a lot. Hell, I guess I'm just getting old. Can't be that, can it? Really happy with how I painted the hubs on that. As goofy as it seems, and it's just one of those little touches that it was like, And I'm glad I did that. There's a polished metal base. When I say polished, I polished the bumpers is what I did. I filed those down a little bit, sanded them down, and then polished the heck out of them. I didn't polish the rest of the base, but just the bumpers. That's all that I really needed. So I thought I was done at this point, and I'm taking a look at it, and there was something else I wanted to add, and it had crossed my mind as I was working on it, and then I thought, nah, it'll look fine without it. And almost like the hubs, it was another little detail I wanted to add. Right there, you kind of notice what's missing from the back end. I've got the exhaust tips that I put on, but there aren't any brake lights. So again, I looked at photos on the internet, and I thought, well, let me use these pins and bend them. So what I did is I bent the pins. I end up painting the tips of them with Tamiya clear red to look like, taillights. And I show that to you here in a second. There we go. Gotta love the Tamiya clear red. That is just fantastic paint. It does exactly what you want it to do. So very simply, I hit that with red, and then you see these pins are really long. What I end up doing off camera is, once this dries, I cut basically almost all of the rest of the pin off, just a little bit past where I bent it. I keep a little bit of the straight part, and I end up then CA gluing that, coming up off the back bumper. There were so many variations of taillights that I saw that people had done. I also considered throwing a license plate on the back, but the way the back bumper was, I thought, no, I think that would actually detract from it. I'll be curious if anybody else added a license plate. I'd like to see how they did it, what it looked like. But there you see the taillights, and you get a good look at the little exhaust pipes that are on there. So here's where we started. That's still, it's a pretty green. Almost hated to paint it, but that's part of the challenge. So there's old Yeller. And you see, I really like the little detail to it. I'd be really tempted to do another one almost in that green and just add the details. So I hope you like this build. Again, please check out all of the other builds. I'd like to thank my subscribers for following me and watching these videos. And if you're not already a subscriber, I would love to have you subscribe to the channel and be able to check out a lot of the other builds I do, including the upcoming builds. There's some glamour shots that are going to follow this on the round rotating table, the rotisserie or whatever you want to call it. And hope you like the glamour shots as well. Thank you so much for watching these videos, and hope you have fun checking these out, and be sure and check out all of the other builders. I'd also like to take a moment to thank my Patreon members. I really do appreciate your support for the channel and keeping me building these little guys. This was fun. Thanks again, and everybody stay safe and healthy out there, and I'll catch you in the next video.